Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1. So, oh man, Season 1 is so rough. This is probably the roughest first season of Star Trek, but I say that about like the original series as well as Discovery, but man, this first season is rough. The storylines are trash. I heard that a lot of them were reused from the original series plots, and once you hear that and you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, no, that actually makes total sense, because these are of the time period of the original series and do not make sense for late 80s, early 90s. Um, in terms of the characters, Tasha Yar is the worst. She sucks at her jobs. She almost got Wesley killed because she couldn't read a fucking like rule book this thin. Like, it's so dumb. And then she need like in like I think it was the second episode, she needed to inspect the thingy, like, so she almost caused an international incident by like flipping some dude around, and then she just like turns her back on the captain's like, all right, it's good. Okay, if it was explosive, he would still be dead, and so would you. Like, and your visual inspection does nothing. Whatever. So she's just very shitty. Speaking of very shitty, Wesley. I hate Wesley. He is a superfluous character, and everything he did should have been done by one of the other cast members, because every time he thinks of something or does something, it should have been either Geordi or Data to do the thing, or they have to have Riker be like especially asshole for no reason to him in order for the plot to progress. Like, it doesn't make any sense, and I fucking hate the Wesley character, and I understand why they included the boy wonder in there for blah blah. I don't fucking care. It was a terrible choice, and I hate every second that he's on screen. So I think that he was the least useless this season that he is of the 3 to 4 seasons that he's a part of. Mostly because they haven't figured out where the main cast is going yet. Like, Worf is wearing red, Geordi's wearing red, the chief engineer is some dude with a beard who you never see again after this season. The lighting is terrible. The lighting is just terrible in this season. Like, I know it doesn't really get good until season, I think, 3 or whatever, but the lighting is bad. Because they haven't figured out how to light it yet. They're still going like soft focus on the eyes type business sometimes, so just dumb. Also, they haven't figured out Data yet. And I'm trying to be understanding, but the amount of time that they spend like in wonder of the holodeck and explaining how it works and how amazing it is and just how realistic it is, they make it seem like it's a brand new technology to them. And I feel like they were trying to explain it to an audience that they thought in the 80s wouldn't understand. But I also feel like there was enough sci-fi shit that has come out in mainstream like cinema by the late 80s, early 90s, that you didn't have to make all that effort to explain it to your average fan of Star Trek. Like, you didn't have to be like, oh, and the walls are here and it recreates and blah blah blah. You could, in season 2, in the Moriarty episode, they spend like maybe one paragraph of dialogue or less, first of all retconning how the holodeck works to make it much more logical, and B, just explaining it and then moving on. Whereas in this one, they spend like, oh, it's so realist. Oh, turn and touch the thing. Oh, multiple times. Like, get over it. Also, Deanna is even more useless than Wesley and Tasha, and it's just so unfortunate that Gates McFadden, aka Dr. Crusher, had some type of disagreement, I think, with an executive producer or a writer or somebody, and because of that, she was like, I'm not coming back until that person is fired. But Tasha, who was played by an actress who was a rich person, it was like, oh, being on a television series where you have to be around for like 12 to 18 hours a day, like, didn't realize it would be this difficult, and I'm kind of rich, so I don't really need to be here right now. Can I get out of my contract? They were like, yeah, sure, okay, we're going to kill your character pointlessly. But because of that, and then Gates McFadden leaving, because of the perception that it would create if they also wrote off Deanna's character, that like, hey, you've just replaced all of your female cast and none of your male cast, only because of the perception that that would make is why they didn't write her off. If Crusher had stayed or Tasha had stayed, and I'm glad that Tasha left because she was pointless and stupid and whatever, but like, if Crusher had stayed, they could have written out Deanna, and her character was just so stupid. Gratitude and joy. Oh, you don't fucking say, like, every time she opens her mouth, it's just like, well, thanks for that nugget of wisdom of explaining what was clearly already on the screen, Deanna. Oh, I hate her so much. Anywho, so she's pointless. in this season, they did introduce the Ferengi, which I know the goal for the Ferengi was to have them be like the big baddie of this season, and nope, they are laughable, and I'm glad they changed direction with them, but I like that they introduced the Ferengi, because they're fun. I like that we get to see Q, even in the first episode, like John Delancey, just amazing actor, amazing Q, love him to death, always want to see that. Lore, I love Lore episodes. I did like the Wesley Academy episode, because I thought that they had some important lessons there, but that's the Academy, not Wesley being on the fucking bridge. Also, I know that they introduced like the Klingon culture of like the rah. All right, it's just a husk now. Get rid of it. We don't care. I like that introduction. I like that we got to see a little bit more of Worf in that, even though it does create kind of like a monoculture feeling with the Klingons that persisted for a number of years. But there are some episodes that, like I said, there's a lot of reuse of what seems like original series plots that they didn't actually get to make. And so there's some bullshit that happens, like the kid kidnapping in this episode, where they kidnap all the kids from the Enterprise. It doesn't make any sense. It's like there's plenty of orphanages and foster care people that you could just call up the Enterprise and be like, hey man, we need some, we're gonna be happy to take care of some kids, give them all the things that they want, education, yada yada. Could you hook stuff? They're like, yeah, sure, okay, bye. We're gonna bring you some stuff. Okay, here's some kids that need a home and loving family, as opposed to just kidnapping. So there's a lot of dumb things on there, but you know, in general, I appreciated that it's more Star Trek, and they did try and ask some interesting questions, but it's just this season was rough. It was rough. Yeah, I usually try and skip this season in the rewatch, but then I end up being like a completionist, so I have to rewatch the first season. So, anywho, that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.